Good afternoon, everyone, or evening, wherever you're from. So let me know in the comments where you guys are tuning in from. And also let me know #replay if you're watching the replay. So first off, I just want to, hi Nicolette! So I'm not seeing comments. I don't know how I can see comments on this thing. Oh, that's me writing a comment. So I planned, thanks Nicolette. I plan on going live from my computer and then reading comments on my phone, but I can see them, so great. Thank you so much, Nicolette, for popping in. I super appreciate you. And if you don't know, Nicolette is also one of our featured speakers. She is going live on Wednesday. Yes, Wednesday. She is the self-care queen and she's going to help you. So I know a lot of you, I'm so used to looking at it this way, but the dot's over here. So a lot of people in this group were asking about the self-care routines. And so she is the lady who's going to help you get that all straight. So thank you, Nicolette, for being here. So first off, right, let's talk about Stacy Brookman's interview. I know a lot of you came here from Stacy's list, and some of you came from other people that I follow in the narcissistic relationship space, like Natalie Hoffman and Leslie Vernick. And so these ladies are really big on just getting the word out there about narcissistic relationships, right? What is it like to be with a narcissistic partner, and the signs and the symptoms that are that you really don't know what's happening to you. So I kind of, when I describe being in a narcissistic relationship, I describe it like a frog. What is that phrase where they say how to boil a frog? Like you just kind of start turning up the heat. So the frog's swimming in the pot, and then you slowly start dialing up the heat, and then he doesn't even know he's being cooked, right? And that's how you cook a frog. It's opposite of like how to eat that frog, like Brian Tracy teaches, but you know, and that was the same for me. That was the same for Stacy. I don't know if you heard it in our interview, but there's so many women that I know who are in narcissistic relationships and don't even know about it. As I've been talking more about narcissism and the effects of it, I've been referred clients through, of course, through the interwebs. How else do we get clients these days, right? And when I was talking to them, they're like, I don't think my husband is a narcissist. And then when we started diving deeper about the characteristics of what a narcissistic partner looks like, they were like, whoa, is he? And it was kind of this thing where they weren't actually sure if they were in a narcissistic relationship. And it kind of, like the same amount of, I'm just going to call it brainwashing, that it took to get them to believe in their partner and like to just not think about if they are in a narcissistic relationship, and how he kind of had, like us, I'm including myself in this, how our partners had us fooled for so long. It takes a amount of time to even like think that we are in a narcissistic relationship. And so my husband likes to watch Deep Space Nine, the Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And right before this, we were watching an episode that I think I'm gonna pull in here, which I didn't know why I was watching it, but this guy, the doctor was under investigation as a spy, right? They're like, you're a spy and we think you're a risk or security risk, whatever. And they really tested him to see if somehow it's the Dominion is the bad guys, right? If the Dominion had somehow compartmentalized his brain so that he wouldn't remember that he was actually a spy, so that, you know, like when you don't know you're a spy, then there's nothing to hide and you can like lie with a straight face. And I just found it, you know, God always shows up when he needs to. I just found that it was appropriate for for what we're going to be talking about today, because narcissism, it's kind of like that. Like, we get brainwashed and we don't know what's happening, and it's also like how Stacy and I were talking about in the interview. It's so subtle that you don't even know. And how Stacy was talking about, when her I don't want to give it away because I really want you guys to go and watch or listen to the original interview, but how Stacy was just being like cyber attacked too by her husband, and she didn't know. And that part where he was he had a keystroke logger on her computer, and he was posting as her on the forum. And then also the part where he where she talks about how we as women, we have to be careful who we confide in, right? Who are we? I apologize. I meant to be doing this on my computer, so I have my notes up at the same time. But yeah, how Stacy, she didn't know, like, she was getting hacked, and then he posted on the forum on her behalf, and then she tried to go to her friend's family, and like everyone thought that she was crazy, because so this is the way of the narcissist, right? The narcissist comes in and he's super charming, and he targets smart, successful women. And I mean, I was targeted, and because the thing with the narcissist is he likes to have arm candy. He wants to have a trophy wife, right? Because narcissism is all about ego. So why would a narcissist pick an ugly wife? But there's like different spectrums. Like, there's people that pick ugly wives so that they stay submissive, and then they can control them, because like, hey, you're good for nothing. You're never going to amount to anything, because like, you don't deserve me because I'm like way too good for you. So there's that camp. And then there's the other camp where the narcissist wants a challenge, right? He wants a challenge. He wants to know that, let me check for comments. Oh, hi, Carol. Like, he wants to know that, he's got you. And it's kind of like this thing where, like, that's what my ex-husband did to me. So I've been married 3 times, divorced twice. My second husband was like 15 years older. Yeah, I mean, you could psychoanalyze it, say maybe I had a daddy complex. But in my first marriage, my husband was way young. He was 3 years older than me, and I had always dated older men. And I was like, well, if 3 years older is like way young, he was super immature. I was like, I went for someone older. And yeah, Nicolette, yes. In that same vein, he wants a smart woman, a successful woman as a prize. Exactly. And for me, I felt like I was targeted. I had just started a new job, and he was starting at the same time, and I was smart, I was successful. I mean, I was an overachiever. I had 3 jobs going into this one job that, I had 3 part-time jobs, and then I got this full-time job, and so I was able to let everything else go. Plus, I was going to college. I was 20 years old at the time. And so I was super ambitious, like, and all that stuff, and he was attracted to me, but, he was still married. And I had just come out of my first marriage, and my self-esteem was down. I was like, because my ex cheated on me, and I was like, oh, how did this happen, right? And so my self-esteem was down, and I swear he picked up on that scent. It's kind of like they have this sixth sense when, we don't feel good about ourselves, and we have this self-esteem issue, right? Like Stacy and I talked about. And but yet we are arm candy or trophy wife, right? We have stuff on our resume that makes us super successful. And so there's this like sweet spot that you have a low self-esteem, but yet you are super successful. Like, that is like that just makes you, I don't want to say perfect target for a narcissist. It's kind of, they don't even know that they're doing it sometimes. I just want to say sometimes it's a preconditioning. Sometimes they do it like knowingly. Like there's a whole podcast here in the group where I did with Queena Tahi, and we talked about narcissism like way in depth. And if you want to learn more about it, Stacy has a whole summit just on emotional abuse and narcissism. I will post the link to that, or I'll correct the link. I got a notification from the team that the link on the website is broken to access Stacy's summit details. So I'll do that. While we're here, is there any questions about narcissism? As I could probably talk all day about this topic. And while I'm waiting for the comments, I'm gonna just take a whole sip right here. Yeah. Okay, no comments. Great. So moving on to speaker number 2 for the day. Right, so we had Joy Rika, who is a yoga therapist. And like I explained, hopefully I explained it well. Yoga therapy is how you become a yoga therapist. Basically, how Joy explained it to me is you take the basic yoga instructor certification, and then there's an additional like 250 hours. So regular is 220, and then you add another like 200 something hours onto the yoga instructor training. So it's like a total of 500 hours to become a yoga therapist. And I had lunch with someone today from a meetup group. She's super fabulous. She was like, what is yoga therapy? And like, yay, I just want to send a shout out to Joy. We got Joy hooked up as a guest speaker at my meetup group. And so, you know, like that's the synergistic qualities of this interweb thing, right? Anyway, Joy Rika, yoga therapist, right? I don't want to give away the answers to the questions because, maybe I should explain how the questions work and how the contest works. Hi, Sherry. I'm so glad that the comments are popping up because I'm going live from my phone, and usually when I go live from my phone, I can't see anything. So, where was I talking about? The contest. So contest rules, you see the contest questions here in the group. There's a question that each panelist and I kind of thought of together while we were on the call, and answer the questions in that thread. And then at the end of the week, I'm gonna pick a grand prize winner. There are some guests that are going to actually give you, so Annabelle is an essential oils healer. She is going to give you, we're talking about balance. It's an essential oil blend. She's giving that to the contest winner for tomorrow. So Annabelle's gonna be doing that tomorrow. So comment with the answers to the question in that thread, and then based on who replies and the engagement that we get, I will choose a winner. Okay, so back to yoga therapy, right? The 7 limbs of life that we talk about are the different stages of relationships. And basically, however you rank your relationship on a scale of 1 to 10, there are 7 of them, and I'm not going to give you the answers because that's the contest question. But right, based on family, I'll give you one, right? So family relationship. How do you score yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in the area of family? So right, I could score myself lower because my kids are not living here with me, right? And based on that score, like, oh, okay. So my life would be out of balance, right? And so, yeah, based on that, that would be, I would have a lower score, and then, so like I say, I was 10 in all the other areas, and then my family relationship was low. It, you know, if you're looking at it like a graph, it would be, and I would be like out of balance. So in that, I'm not a yoga person, you guys. I'm not a yoga person, so forgive me if I use the wrong terms and all of that stuff, right? So in yoga therapy, right, they look at your scores of relationships on the seven limbs of life and the seven main relationships, the core relationships that you have. And I thought it was so funny, right? It's called core relationships, and in yoga, right, you really center on your core and your body. Anyway, I'm a punny kind of girl. I love jokes, even though being in a narcissistic relationship is not, there's not a lot to joke about. But yeah, Joy talks about being stable in your seven core relationships, and if they're out of balance, then yeah. So in yoga therapy, just to give you guys a brief overview of what she does, because I don't think we touched on it in the interview. She builds you your own like practice. So practice is the asana, right? The how you move your body. That's the technical term for the movements that you do when you're doing yoga, right? And so she crafts you a specific asana based on how you are in your seven limbs of life. That's kind of like in a nutshell what yoga therapy is. So like I don't know, but like I am low in my family, then she would put in some moves or whatever to get my family score higher, and then by doing my daily practice, I would essentially like be balanced in the seven core relationships. So that's how yoga therapy works in a nutshell. I've only experienced it once. Joy took us hiking in Palos Verdes, which is like up the street from where I live. It's an amazing cliff view. I should post that. But we were doing just yoga on the side of the road. On the cliffside, there was like a patch of grass. We hiked down from the top of the mountain where Joy lives, and then we like took these back trails like to where the cliff meets the ocean, and we did yoga there. And it wasn't even like a hard yoga, and that's the main reason why I don't do yoga. Is I'm out of shape. I'm 40 plus, like I'm out of shape. And I feel like sometimes I've been to yoga before, and like sometimes like I can't contort the same way that I used to when I was younger because I'm right out of practice. And it was just really easy. She was like, hey, yeah, like we're gonna how about we're gonna do this leg stretch or calf stretch or whatever. And she was like, well, if you can't do this, maybe like alter it. So it felt like so effortless to do the poses. So I didn't have to worry about like, oh, I have to. So mind you, we were there with another yoga instructor. So it was yoga instructor leading, a yoga instructor friend that was in part of our business mastermind, and me. I'm active, but not in the yoga sense, right? And so I'm like, I'm a runner. So like, like my hip flexors are all tight and stuff. And like, I can only reach so far. I'm pretty flexible, but like I said, I'm out of practice. And so, and she's like, yeah, don't compare. Oh, hold on. I forgot to put on Do Not Disturb. But yeah, so right, my friend Claudia is here, and she's a yoga instructor, so she's doing all the poses, and she looks so nice. She's tall, she's lean, and actually Claudia's a member of this group, and she's doing her poses, and she's like, oh yeah, I usually do this for the shoulder. And Joe was like, yeah, if you need to like alter or whatever for however you are, like just go with your body. And that's what I love the most about Joy and just like being in her space and hanging out with her, because we do a lot of business together. She's so chill, and that I'm so excited that right, thank you, Nicolette. Right, yoga, especially if you're worried about burnout. And I actually started doing yoga back in Hawaii after I got my adrenal burnout diagnosis. So technical background on how you get an adrenal burnout actual diagnosis is they measure your cortisol levels, right? So cortisol is your stress chemical in your body. As a former, I got my certification as a health coach, so if I talk about health, that's why. I actually became a health coach because of my health history and my adrenal burnout. So the cortisol level is below 10, or 5. So 10 is normal. If you're below 5, you can get an adrenal burnout diagnosis. My cortisol level was 0.8. So I say 0.8 because I'm like, I'm not technically 0. I was like, if you round it up, I was still a 1. I'm an overachiever. If you round it up, I was still a 1. But all joking aside, my doctor looked at all of my charts and my things, and he was like, I don't know how you are still alive and walking around. Like, I don't even know how you are sitting here in my office. Like, how did you get here? I was like, oh, well, luckily my husband drove and he was there and he heard the diagnosis. This is my third husband, the husband who cares about me and who loves me. And he actually was the reason why I was at the doctor's office that day. Excuse me. He was actually the reason why I was there. I didn't think I had a problem. I'm like, I'm just always tired. Like, I've been working shift work for the last 17 years. Right, so my work schedule was 2 weeks of days, 2 weeks of nights, 12-hour shifts, and we would rotate every 2 weeks. So I've been doing that off and on, and I've been getting like 4 to 6 hours of sleep per night for over 10 years probably. I thought 6 hours was a great amount of sleep. Thank God I became a health coach and I figured all that stuff out. That's not how you're supposed to be. Although, just truth be told, with this whole summit, I have not been diligent with my sleep. Just put it that way. I have to really watch my burnout tendencies because I am an overachiever. I love achieving. Raise your hand if you're in this group and you are an overachiever, just like me. Because, yeah. Not that I'm like applauding you, but just thanks for being here and just give me some hearts if you are an overachiever. But yeah, yoga is a great way to bring down cortisol, bring down stress. And actually, Joy's backstory is she started doing yoga because she had chronic, she had arthritis at 27, I believe. I mean, she's young. And then there's that stereotype where Asians, we're younger, right? We maintain our youth longer. We have like more longevity in our genes. And so when I heard that she had arthritis in her 20s, I was like, whoa, like that's pretty major. And that's what got her into yoga. And so, and then part of her story also is she has a very unique definition for addiction. I don't know if you caught that one. So she says you are just very skilled at whatever is your drug of choice. I'm very skilled, like being an addict of heroin just means I'm very skilled at taking heroin, or I'm very skilled at smoking weed. I do know some about addiction, not personally, but I've seen family members go through it. And right, there's this whole thing with withdrawal and whatever, and so you get very skilled at knowing what your body needs and how much you need and whatever. Anyway, so she just calls addiction being very skilled. So she's very skilled at her drugs of choice, and she knew that like relationships was part of the problem. And when she found yoga therapy, it kind of was like a mishmash of where she was and what she needed in her life. And like it's the funny story, right? She and I met through a business mastermind here in California, but she actually got her master's degree at the University of Hawaii, right? I'm originally from Hawaii, so I was like, what? She's like, yeah, Hawaii. And you know, whenever you connect to someone from your hometown, it's like, you know, there's instant bond. And it, you know, like how, so she was studying Asian studies in Hawaii and getting her master's in religion, and yeah, and so she has this love for Asian history, and she's working with refugees now because she's talking about like generational trauma. So the yoga therapy actually helps to release trauma from the body, right? So there's generational trauma that we incur. If you're a Christian, you've probably heard of the term generational curses, where there's like principalities and things on your life from generations ago that are still kind of like stuck to you, or in, I guess, how, like in a secular way you could explain it, like say I am just like my mother's just like my grandmother, so there's this like hereditary character trait that gets passed down through the generations. If it's a negative trait and it could be deemed as like something that is not good, but you just like, I don't know why I still have this habit, I don't know why I still do this, like it's such a bad habit, I should stop. It could be a sign of a generational curse. Tag me in the comments. I'm usually good at breaking stuff down, but I want to keep these videos short, and I don't want to really get off topic. But Joy's helping right now. She's in Cambodia, in a refugee. No, the refugees are here in Long Beach, but she's in a limbless amputee camp down in Cambodia right now, and she's helping the amputees to just work through their body issues with the help of yoga therapy. And being in a third world country, especially a war-torn country like Cambodia, there's a lot of generational trauma that occurs in your body. And like there's all these things that get passed down through DNA, right? Coronavirus is happening right now. There's a baby that was born with coronavirus. Oh, I saw it in the news. I don't know if it's fake news or it's real news, but there was someone that I saw that posted someone's baby had been born with coronavirus. So there's things that, like, right, DNA gets, oh, we're going to be talking about DNA on Thursday with Leonie. Some of you are here because of Leonie as well. And yeah, just how generational stuff can get caught up in your DNA too. That's super huge. So what I really want to do now is to just give you a word of encouragement. I know a lot of you resonated with Stacy's interview talking about narcissistic relationships, and just this being a place where you're seen and you're heard, and you know, we're talking about something that's very heavy, but I wanted to really shine the light on these types of relationships, because I know, you know, God sent me here because all the stuff that I've been through. God sent me here to help free women from just the mindset of abuse. And I know there's a lot of ways that we could get caught up in victim mentality and, you know, just scarcity. But I want to tell you today that you don't have to remain a victim. Yes, stuff happened. I mean, stuff happened to me. I have like multiple Me Too incidents that happened to me. I almost took my own life twice because I was like at the end of my rope. because of things that were done to me. And I was stuck in that victim mentality for so long. You know, I could barely trust anyone. I mean, some days I look and I'm like, why? I would never thought I would have gotten married a third time. I got burned twice. I'm married a third time. Like, that's just by the grace of God. And in those 8 years when I was single, there was a lot of work that I did on myself, a lot of getting closer to God and just realizing who I am and whose I am in Christ. And just knowing that God is the Redeemer, God is the Restorer, and He makes everything possible. And the power of forgiveness is huge. I think I'll save that story for Friday because it's my personal story of forgiveness with my ex-husband, and just the level of restoration that happened once I allowed forgiveness to come in it was super powerful. And I didn't realize the detriment that was happening in my family. You know what? I'm just going to tell you today because I probably will forget on Friday. So, my son was abused by my second husband. So this is not his father. My son was born out of my first marriage. I had a daughter with my second husband, right? And so, my son was abused by his stepfather, right? Essentially, and I had no idea to the extent of the abuse that was going on. And then years later, we're talking about stuff. We're healing. We're restoring. Like, I'm going to healing ministries and stuff, and things are coming up. And as things are coming up, you know, God has me speak to my children, and one, asking them for forgiveness and just talking about the different things that we went through when I was with my second husband. And you know, my son put a lot of blame on me. He's like, "Mom, why? Like, you didn't know?" Like, he seriously thought, like, "Mom, you knew, and you betrayed me, and you stayed with him." And I was like, "Wait, what?" So you honestly think I would have stayed with this guy had I known that, you know, all of this was happening to you? And so that's where I like to talk about us tapping into our mama bear mojo. I don't know if I talked about it on the summit with any of the guests actually, but you know, our mama bear mojo, like that ability to lift a car off of a child who's pinned, right? Like, in the natural we can't lift it, but that adrenaline rush allows us to be there for our children and lift them up. I call that the mama bear mojo, right? Had I known that what was happening to him, I would probably have gotten out way sooner. You know, because I'm like, well, if this is affecting my son this bad, of course I would do it for him. I didn't do it for myself because I didn't think I was worth it. I didn't think I was valuable. But I didn't. I didn't commit suicide because of my kids. In that last moment before I totally blacked out, I just thought, oh my gosh, my son doesn't have a father because we left the mainland. We moved back to Hawaii. My son doesn't have a father. If I'm gone, he's going to be a complete orphan. And in that moment was when everything changed. And I said, I'm going to live for me because my son needs me. And that was the moment that I just decided to live, right? And so what I wanted to share with you today, I know there are some of you who may be still in a bad relationship and you're like, I don't know how to get out. One, I don't know how I can afford to get out. I had a financial specialist scheduled, but you know, life happened. She's a mother. We didn't get to record. I'll probably have her on the next summit. But you know, Stacy talked about it today about finances. You gotta have your finances in place if you ever want to leave. And I know someone commented on the post and saying like, you know, well, I can't leave, I can't get help because I'm financially being supported by, you know, by this man. And I would love to just encourage you. It's been on my heart to start a nonprofit to help women like you get out of these relationships, because the number one thing that I hear about why women stay is your finances, right? It's always about the finances. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna live. I don't know how how I'm gonna survive if I leave him. So the first thought that I had when I wanted to leave, I was pregnant, I was on maternity leave, and my ex-husband was in total control of the finances. Not total control, we had a joint bank account, but you know, it was one of those things where I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know, I can't leave. And I just want to encourage you today, if you have children, there are services out there. So the nonprofit that I want to actually fund is a nonprofit for women who work and are overqualified for social services. And then there's also the piece of like not wanting to leave because where am I gonna go? I'm gonna take my kids to a homeless shelter. So in Hawaii, we don't have domestic abuse shelters, or we didn't at the time. It was just like one homeless shelter that you go to. One of my friends actually went to a homeless shelter. I think she stayed there for a week because she was homeschooling her kids, and her husband was a sole breadwinner. But I was like, ugh. I admit I am, I'm a germaphobe. I don't like germs, like this whole coronavirus. I'm like, why aren't people just washing their hands more often? I mean, I know that's not the thing, but what, like, I'm always washing my hands. I swear I can feel germs on my hands, like when I touch something, so I just feel like washing my hands all the time. But anyway, that's the main reason why I didn't go to a shelter. I chose to stay because I ran out of options. I kept running to my parents' house, and they're like, girl, like, why do you keep coming over here? Like, the solution is just leave him. But when your heart is entangled and you've been oppressed for so long, it's a mental game. It's a psychological game that he's playing with you, and to keep you trapped and to keep you stuck, because you are providing that narcissistic supply that he needs to feed his ego, right? Narcissism is all about ego. And so, I encourage you, one, to go and listen to the Emotional Abuse Summit that Stacy has put on. It's free for you. In the link, I'll go fix it. I'll go look at it after this. And then also listen to Joy's audio. Like, if you're stressed out and you can't sleep at night, listen to her audio. It's a guided meditation. It's the free gift. Like, if you go to the website, you click on the link, it's the words that are bold and in blue. It says 15-minute meditation, I think. And you just go there, download it, and listen to it, because it will help you, right? We gotta de-stress. I had an online course that was called De-Stress for Success. A lot of us are too caught up in being stressed out all the time. I know life comes at us, understand that. But there's a point where we have to really, like, are we gonna let our circumstances just throw us for a loop? Or are we going to take back control of our emotions, right? We have control over our emotional stability. We have control over our emotional resilience, right? We can choose to be at peace in the midst of chaos. It's a choice. Because I know that now, because my husband always points it out to me. It's like, why are you going off about that? Why are you worried about that? That's not your problem. Why do you care about whatever, your mom, your sister, whatever? Like, it really didn't affect me. Or even like a coworker having issues with his wife. I'm like, oh yeah, they're having issues and stuff. And I would just bring all of this negativity, all of this gossip into my space. And he's like, that's not your problem. Like, yeah, but you know, they need me. Like, I could help them. If you're at the space where you're tapped out, seriously, it's not your problem. Yeah. And I I am that person that will tell people straight. If you're familiar with personality tests or whatever, and the DISC test, the DISC, the D, I'm a high D. I'm like 80% D. And I used to hide my directiveness. But really, I can't sugarcoat it enough. I don't want to sugarcoat it. Like, if I can just impress upon you that if you just take little baby steps, if you are stuck in that relationship, just take baby steps. Start walking your way out of that relationship if you're still in it. I know it's hard, but there are resources out there. You have to find them. Stacy talks about some of them on the interview, and she talks a lot about them on her own summit. So please listen to them. Like, there's even a browser that you can, or like, if you go to a website, it's linked below in one of the posts. If you want that, comment here and I'll tag you in the other post. But it's a website that talks about domestic violence and stuff, and it has a feature where you close the browser and it deletes your history, so your husband will never know that you were watching or listening. And I've had like people like come into my realm, my sphere, and I said, hey, I have a Facebook group. And they're like, well, I can't join your Facebook group because then my husband would know that I think he's a narcissist and I think that I want out of this relationship. And you know what? It's okay. I know that God has this summit here for a specific purpose and for a specific time and space. And you know why I know? Because I got so much opposition, right? The person that was editing the audios, her computer crashed. Like, she was working on it and it went black and it overheated. Like, yeah. Like, this all just happened yesterday while we're trying to get everything live and online for you. And my computer broke down, right? You saw, like, Wednesday and Thursday, my computer was like, I don't feel like working right now. And so what did I do? I didn't let it bother me, which in the past, I'm not speaking from a place where, oh yeah, you guys should just do it. No, it takes work. It takes work to get out of that victim mentality and to really step into your power. And that's what the summit is here to help you do. Honestly, if my computer crashed, I would have been like, I'm done. I'm so done. Like, why does the world hate me? Like, my life is over. Like, I mean, I'm not being an over dramatic, like, drama queen, but I made it outwardly, but in the back of my mind, I would have been like, oh, this is doomed. Like, everything's doomed. And I just kind of would have went to that whole negative side. So I'm telling you that if you are still stuck in a victim mentality, I promise you it can get better. Just have to work on it. Like I say, it's about ooh, hold on. Resilience is about building the muscle, right? When I was in the army and I went to basic training, there was a girl who could barely do any push-ups. We had to do 20 or 22 or something in order to pass our PT's test. By the end of the 8 weeks of basic training, she did her push-ups. She passed. And then she couldn't pass the run, but that's a whole nother. It was a mental thing for her. And luckily, I was a cross-country runner in high school, so the running part, I was already conditioned, but my upper body was not that great. So I had, I had to work up my muscles. Still, like, my arms still, like, when I worked in the oil refinery, like, my arms, like, I was so tired. Like, my arms, not my strong suit. But you know, once you build up the muscle, it's there. And even like for me, my muscles have atrophied since we moved to California. My routine is all thrown off. I stopped working out as consistently as I had before. I'm not as strong. I'm not as strong, but it, because like I have the muscle memory, it's there. I can get it back. So that's what I really want you guys to, as we go through the rest of the week, to really think about how am I going to use these interviews to build my resilience muscles. It's not going to come overnight. It's not going to, you're not going to be like, woo, I'm resilient at the end of the week, like Friday, boom, out. No, it doesn't happen like that. But the exercises that you will get on the interview series, right? Pieces, nuggets, grab them, put them in your files. Yeah. Even for the summit, the model, right? It's supposed to be, I'm supposed to be charging people to buy them. Like, I prayed about it. I'm like, nah, this one, totally free. It's just going to remain free. You know? And so I had lunch today with the lady. She was like, you're so calm. I was like, if you only met me, maybe 2-3 years ago when I was in corporate, this was super high stress. It's similar to an air traffic controller job, or like working in a NASA control room is what we, where I used to work. So there's like critical equipment, a lot of emergency response techniques. Like if something blows up, what are we gonna do? So we always had to have emergency procedures at the back of our mind. Like, oh, if this explodes, like what are we gonna do? Like for the most part, everything was smooth. But when stuff hits the fan, it hits the fan like this, and you have like sometimes seconds to respond. And if you don't respond, we have safety safeguards on top of safeguards so that nothing really explodes, but things can catch on fire. There was a fire not even 20 minutes from here. I mean, California has so many refineries. There's a huge fire, it was on the news, and that's the environment that I used to work in. And so being in that stress all day, every day, and then coming home, I had 2 teenagers in the home, one rebelling, the other one very introverted and didn't speak. So like one like very extroverted telling me all the things, and the other one like super introverted, and I'm like, are you okay? Like so like I had all of these different personalities to deal with, and we were a blended family because I got married to my 3rd husband, and he's new, he's not their fathers. This is all 4 of us are just trying to navigate this whole situation. So I was very stressed out when I got that cortisol adrenal burnout diagnosis. I just thought my life was normal. I was so used to living in that chaos. And you know what? Got my health up, got out of that environment, and I let myself heal. And yeah, I actually, like Nicolette knows. She's been on this journey with me, like with this entrepreneurship journey. She knows I got scolded by our first mentor that we worked with, our first business coach. She's like, you took time off of work to heal your body, yet you were trying to build a business. So I was like, yeah, I didn't want to go back to work. So like, let me get this business off the ground. Talk about hustle, overachieving. Yeah, so I think that's it for today. And if you are in that situation where it's just difficult to leave, you listen to the interview today and you're like, I really think I'm in a narcissistic relationship. Now that I'm awakened to the issue, what are my next steps? Reach out to me, reach out to Stacy. Stacy's a member of this group, and we'd love to just help you. Like seriously, like Stacy has the biggest heart. I met her at a conference here. She came down to California. We met, we hooked up, and I told her this is my first summit. This is not her first rodeo, but she believes in this call so much that, you know, she's here for you. I'm here for you. Any one of the summit experts, they're all here for you. And they're all my friends who I contacted and I said, hey, I think my ladies really need to hear what you have to say. They need to hear your story so that they don't feel alone. Every podcast or interview was recorded with a third chair sitting right here in this office where we imagined that you were sitting because we wanted you to feel included. You know, the narcissist's #1 tactic is isolation, or domestic abuser, emotional abuser, whatever. #1 tactic is isolation. And we don't want you to feel alone. So please reach out to one of us. We're all here to help you. So with that, yeah, go ahead, go have a good dinner with your family, which is what I'm gonna do now. So yeah, love you guys. If you have any prayer requests, you know, drop them in the comments or send me a direct message. I'd love to pray for you. Thank you. And tomorrow coming up, we have Annabelle Quintanilla, Master Essential Oil Healer, and we have my other really good friend, Laura Lynn Engel. She she's not an art therapist. I realized that there's an actual certification and schooling and stuff you have to do, just like a yoga therapy, art therapy is a whole thing. But her handle on Instagram is Got Art Therapy. So I think I showed this in the group. This is not hers, but she helps. She draws. She has painting classes where you do these dotting mandalas, and see if we look at it. Oops. Right, it's very precise. It's very intricate, and so you have to. Thank you. I didn't make it, but anyway, she has classes that she teaches people how to make these. She used it. She used art. She got back into art after being a hairdresser for 26 years here in Hollywood, California. She had eczema, which like eczema is a stress-related disease too, right? It's like stress from the inside out, and it kind of just gets on your skin, right? And so that the three of us met in the Health Coach Institute. We became instant friends at one of the retreats, and we've just been in contact over these last 4 years, and it's just been an amazing journey with these two ladies. They are part of my rock team. You know, these other ladies, I'm like, yeah. When I'm going through a freak out, I call, you know, them. They're on my roster. Not speed dial, because I would never do that to them, but they are part of my roster of who I reach out to when I am going through stuff. So be encouraged. That's part of the reason why I created a Facebook group for the summit. I could have just sent it out in an email. You guys could have listened to it and whatever, but having a group of us all being together to support one another was super important to me. If you look at the group history, I started this group in August with the intent that I wanted it to be filled with women who needed the camaraderie and the support, because we're all going through life. Life's hard. Like, this is that one Facebook group where you can come in and, you know, I wanted it to feel safe. It's like, this is a safe haven where you can just come in, kick off your shoes, take off your bra, relax, you know, just chill. So, yeah. So, yeah, Annabelle and Laura Lynn are going to be here tomorrow. Laura Lynn is going to be talking about her journey through depression and shifting her identity from being a hairdresser to being a health coach, now to being an artist. She's a dotting artist. And she's dealt with a lot of stuff too. And, you know, just how she came out of it and using art as her therapy. So I can't wait for you guys to hear that. You will get your email in your inbox tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Pacific. I love saying Pacific because I always just say, yeah, Hawaii Standard Time, and then I would have to convert it because nobody knows what time it is in Hawaii. Because we don't shift, you know, with the whole daylight savings thing. We just, it's like, we don't need to save daylight. We're in Hawaii. There's like lots of daylight around. So anyway, yeah, 9 a.m. Pacific, it will be hitting your inboxes tomorrow. Watch out for Annabelle. We're going to be talking about essential oils and how to ground yourself using essential oils. And Laura Lynn's going to be talking about her the healing journey that she took and how her art healed her, and some other steps that she gives us on resiliency. So, because I'm like, oh, I don't want to give you guys the. You guys gotta tune in tomorrow and watch. So, okay, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. So be here at 5 p.m. again, same time, same bat channel. We're gonna be going over Annabelle and Laura Lynn's stuff. If you guys have any questions, right? As much as I love talking to myself, I'd rather answer some questions. So pop your questions in here and I'll answer them. Okay, thanks. Bye.